Good evening, my friends. How are you? It is Tuesday night, and once again, I am not at home. So, if you've been watching my lives, you'll see that we have family in town. And so, there are two boys the same age as my girls, and they are so fun. But there's no way that I could do a live training with them because they're really loud and they love to play together, which I love, which I'm so happy about. So that's why I'm here. I'm at we live in a university town, so I'm at the university. They have like these study rooms, and it's really nice. Like last night, I got one super fast and easy, and tonight it was a little bit harder, so I was freaking out a little bit. And you have to be like a student to schedule it. So since I'm not a student, I just had to like get lucky with finding one. So I finally did, and I'm really happy. And I'm really excited to talk about this topic with you tonight. I had a request from one of you to do a training on this. We're going to be talking about planning today and how to like get it all done and be a boss and stick to your plan. I have to be honest with you. This is one of the areas where I'm not like, how do I say this? I'm not perfect at it. I'm not perfect at any of the ones that we've talked about. Obviously, nobody's perfect. But in this area, I haven't done as well as I'd like to. So I keep blaming it on my toddlers. I know that's a terrible excuse. So I was so glad to get this request for this training because it just made me like recommit that I'm going to try and make this work. Sorry, I'm not going to try and make it work. I'm going to make this work. And I know that the process that I'm going to teach you, this is my third time doing it, but not consecutively. I know that like when you do it consecutively, it does get easier. So I can even say just from having done it, like this is my third time, just from having done it 2 times before and now my third, that it has gotten easier. But if I would have done them consecutively, I know it would have gotten like easier faster, and I would start to get really good at it. And even the person that I learned most of this from is Brooke Castillo. She's an incredible woman and coach, and she said that like after your 6th week, you start to like really get it. So since this is only my 3rd week, I'm not going to pretend to be a pro on any of this, but I think it also might be really cool and good because I can tell you exactly how I felt going through it. And I just went through it again today. So it's really fresh in my mind, exactly how I felt, exactly what I was thinking, my reaction to all of this. And so I think that we'll be able to relate to each other, and that I can tell you how to like overcome some of those little brain farts that your brain's going to complain about. So I'm a planner. I've always been a planner and a goal maker. It's a lot of fun, but I have noticed that it is really hard for me to stick to my plans. And a lot of times I end up just giving up. And then like a few days later, a few weeks later, I decide to plan again. And then like sometimes it goes okay. It's just like very hit and miss. And I've gotten to the point where it's like my relationship with myself is almost hurting a little bit because when I make plans, I only half believe that it's actually going to happen. And this happens to so many of us because so we basically have 2 brains. We have like the lower and the higher brain, and the lower brain is just like an animal, right? So if we didn't have like our prefrontal cortex, we would just be like any other animal, right? We have urges and we follow those urges. So, and we do have urge. So we do have that brain. We have the urge to eat, sleep, anything that brings you pleasure or comfort in the moment. That's what that brain wants. Now, our prefrontal cortex understands that there's a future involved and that we can plan, we can put off our immediate pleasures for getting something that we want in the future. Our prefrontal cortex understands all of that, and it can override the primal brain. So it's really important to tap into that prefrontal cortex and learn how to use it consciously to kind of override the primal brain and to just really be able to get everything done that we want to do. It's really important because if you just let your primal brain do whatever the heck it wants, then clearly you're not going to plan for your future or be very good at following your plans, and you're just going to end up living in the moment forever and ever. So planning is a really cool thing. And it's like a privilege, because our brain, out of every like being on the earth, the human being is the only thing or person or animal that has a prefrontal cortex. So are we using it to the fullest extent? Are we realizing what a special privilege this is, and like really like taking the full advantage of our prefrontal cortexes? So just realize like how awesome that is, that we have that amazing tool. Like, this is the most powerful tool in the world. Like, it takes us from like the bottom of the food chain to the very, very top of the food chain. That's how incredible our brain is. We can like invent stuff and like trick, and we can be like tricksy, and we can plot and plan and do all this incredible stuff. And do we really want to just be defaulting all the time to our primitive brain, and not using our primal brain not using our prefrontal cortex to honor our future selves, and to really plan a life that will be meaningful, worthwhile, and will help us to grow and up level? So let's talk about the tools, the actual tools that we're going to be using, and how to overcome like difficulties in the process. Okay, so a lot of people, really, before I get into the tools, a lot of people like make plans and then break them, but then after a while, some people just stop making plans at all altogether. And I am one of those people that for a long time, I completely stopped making any plans, because my relationship with myself was so corroded that I knew I wasn't going to follow through with them. And I remember I was talking to one of my mentors here at this college. I served a full-time mission for my church. It was like 1.5 years long, and this was before my mission. And I was like telling him, I don't think I can like commit to anything. Like, I don't think I could do it. I don't think I can go on this mission. I told him, I was like, I can't even like commit to plans tonight with some of my friends, just in case something better comes up. Like, I can't do it. And so my relationship with myself was so corroded, and just like, I couldn't even trust myself to keep plans for that night. And I didn't even want to. And I was just giving in to like the moment. And if something came up in the moment, I would take it. That was so primal, so primitive. And so he told me, he was like, maybe you actually might get better at making commitments and keeping them by making them and keeping them. I was like, what? How does that even work, you guys? But it is true. It's true. And just start with the small stuff. Just do it. And I'm going to teach you how to overcome those urges. So like, for the example of not making plans that night, well, I could have just made the plan and then committed to myself. And then when something came up, I would process that urge to break my commitment and then still keep my commitment. And we'll talk a lot more about that. But think about this way. Right here it says get off the bike. You're probably like, what is that even talking about? So Brooke Castillo has this incredible analogy where life is kind of like we're traveling somewhere. So a lot of us are on a bike and we're just like going, pedaling hard and like going really hard. And somebody drives up to us and says, hey, maybe they're driving alongside us. You say like, hey, I have a GPS in here in this car. You can use this car if you just get off your bike and get in the car. You can either drive or I can take you where you want to go. Let's go. And you're like, no, I can't get off this bike. If I get off the bike, I'm slowing down. I can't stop. I'm going somewhere. I'm getting somewhere. I'm pedaling. I can't stop. Because stopping, like getting off the bike and getting into the car, means that you have to stop pedaling, set your bike down, walk into the car, open the door, get in, take the GPS and set it. That's like 5 to 10 minutes of like work right there in that scenario. And in life, that's like making a plan. We're doing stuff, we have our to-do list, but are we going very fast and are we going very far? And we're also working a lot harder on the bike than we would in the car. So you're working a lot harder, you're not going as far, and you're not getting as much done. So it's not very effective, right? but we just can't take the moment to stop and get into the car, which is planning, sitting down, taking like an hour to 2.5 hours to plan everything. And that's like getting into the car, because then once you have that plan, you don't have to like, it's going to be a lot easier, and I'll tell you exactly why. And it's going to be like getting in the car and going. So why not just get off the bike, take some time to plan, and use these tools. And today I didn't want to get off the bike. Like it took me about 2.5 hours to complete this process because it's still so new to me. And I didn't want to do it. I was like, oh, I feel like I'm like using time I could use to get stuff done, you know? But like when really, if you plan it all out, you're going to get it all done, and you're going to like give it a place in your week and your schedule when it's going to get done. And so in your free time, you don't have to worry about it, because if you planned it for tomorrow at 2:00, you just trust yourself that you're going to get it done tomorrow at 2:00, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. Okay, so get off the bike, y'all. Get off the bike and plan. Put that GPS in there. Put that address in the GPS and get going in the car, because I promise you it's going to be a lot more effective, a lot more fun, and you're going to get where you need to go. You're going to have an effect in this life. Okay, so when we make decisions on the fly, just like in the moment, it takes a lot. I mean, decisions, no matter when you make them, they kind of take a lot of energy. Like, you have to look at what options you have in the first place. You have to decide like what each option is going to get for you. And then you have to like decide which one you want to do, why, and then plan for it. So making decisions is kind of like an energy sucking process in our brain, or it's a process that uses a lot of energy. So why not just do like the bulk of your decisions in one sitting, get all those decisions out of the way? Because if you do the decisions as they come up and you're just reacting to things in your life, and you're like, I guess we will do this. Okay, yeah, let's go. And that's going to take a lot more energy, and you're going to find yourself getting burnt out. And that's why you're not going to have the energy to do any of like the difficult things. You're going to, I'm taking a finances class right now just for fun. And my mentor in that class, it's really like a group discussion class. So we don't call him a teacher. It's like a facilitator. So the facilitator was saying like when he made his to-do list, he found himself always wanting to do the low-hanging fruit. And then when the low-hanging fruit like came along throughout the day, he'd like add it to his list and do it first just so we could mark it off. And we do that all the time because we don't really have the energy to go and do the big things, because there's a lot of little decisions underneath them that we haven't thought about yet. And it really takes planning to do a lot of those things. So you only have to plan like once a week for it to be really effective. So yeah, you don't even have to do like an hour of planning a day, just an hour of planning a week. For me, it took 2.5 hours, but I'm sure, and I really believe that the longer I go about this, then the faster I'm going to get, and the better I'm going to get. So when you make all the decisions in one sitting with your planning process, then you honor them later in the week. So if I make a decision to do the dishes at 3:00 tomorrow, then I honor that decision. The decision has already been made. When 3:00 rolls around, I'm like, oh, yeah. Then I decide, do I want to honor that decision or not? Honoring the decision is a lot different than making the decision. So the decision has already been made. Now we just have to learn how to honor all of these decisions. Okay, think of your primitive brain like a toddler. Okay, your primitive brain, it just, like your toddler. Okay, so if you don't have a toddler, let me tell you, if they want something, if they can throw a fit mid-sentence of what they're asking for. So my daughter, they really care about what color their little cuppy is. So my daughter wanted a blue cup, and she's like, Mommy, can I get a blue cup? And she hadn't even finished the sentence first before she was throwing a fit. That's how like immediate we want things. And so when you think of your primitive brain, it is literally like a toddler, because your toddler's prefrontal cortex is not all the way developed yet. So really it is their primitive brain that is like driving them, right? So if you want to know what it's like to have a primitive brain, just look at a toddler, and they want things right now. Okay, so that's how strong it is. And that is important to know, because then you realize like that's what's going on. You're human, and you're going to learn how to overcome that. Okay, so don't let your toddler run around. By this, I mean brain. Don't let your brain just run around the house with a knife like your toddler. It's going to do you damage. It's not going to be very helpful for you. Okay, so let's get into the tools. This is so fun. Like, for me, I'm such a planner and a list maker and blah, blah, blah. I like order. So when we get into the tools of this, I just get so excited. All right, so number one, a to-do. So I just erased a little bit of it. A to-do download. This is when you just like vomit all of your, like, I need to do this, I need to do this. Everything that's floating and bouncing around in your brain, you just vomit it out onto a piece of paper. So you get a blank piece of paper. I use computer paper. I'm going to show you my to-do download in a minute. So you just write down like everything that you need to do that week. So everything that you have to do, everything that you need to do, all the appointments, everything that you want to do, everything that you think, oh, that would be nice to do, everything that you have been meaning to do for a long time, like anything that you want to do this week. Write it down on this paper. Okay, it could be everything. Not just anything, but everything. Like, make it everything. And just go for it and write and write and write. And when you think you're done writing, you're not done writing. It's important to ask yourself, like, okay, like, now what else? Like, at least 4 times. So as you're writing the list and you get to where you think you're done, then be like, okay, what else? What I like to do is like go through, like, in my mind, like imagine every section of my home, and then imagine every section of my body, and just like imagine every section of my life, my children, my, like, why do I usually leave the house to go to the library? Think about the library. Oh, library books. Like, you know, so just examine your life in every nook and cranny. Like, I would think about my kitchen, and then I would think about like the candles that are in the kitchen and be like, oh, I promised Betsy I would make her candles. So just go through, and I really like to do that. Just like, it's very spatial and visual, and I'm a visual person. So just however you want to do it. But I really like going through that, like in a visual virtual reality in my mind. So write down and then ask yourself what else, at least 4 times, until you have thought of everything. This will feel so good to your brain, because we have these thoughts bouncing up there like constantly. And a lot of times when you feel stressed or you feel overwhelmed, it's because these things are just up there, and you think like our brain can only plausibly, like, really, really well remember 3 things at a time. But we're trying to remember like dozens of things at a time. And it's just like, but we like are forgetting them, and we just like, it's like, okay, so remember in Harry Potter with the Remember All, when Neville gets the Remember All, he's like, it lights up when I've forgotten something. Trouble is, I can't remember what I've forgotten, right? Like, that was always so annoying to me. I'm like, why would that thing exist? But I like it because it's a good representation of what actually happens to us in this life. Like, we have all these things going in our head, and they're like bringing these like feelings, and then we forget what they are, but we still have these feelings of like, I can't remember what it is, but I have to do it. I feel this like stressful feeling. So getting this just all down on paper will feel so good to your brain. You're like, oh my gosh, like, now I can think. Now I can actually like reason and like be creative and get wisdom, you know? So when you have these things, and this is why planning is, you're going to get so much more done, because then you can actually be like wise about it and smart about it and like less stressed about it. And you can be focused on one thing because you know that everything else is planned. So you don't have to like be like, okay, I have to do this one thing, but also remember 12 others that need to get done. And so just write them all down. Okay, I will show you mine. They're all crossed out now because I've calendared them all. But here's my to-do download. It includes things like budget, sell furniture, cook dinner. So don't forget to include the things that you take for granted, either like cooking dinner or exercising, grocery shopping, putting on makeup, taking a shower, sleeping. Those things are all necessary things to go on your list. Like anything that takes time, anything at all. Okay, so that is the first step. It's a lot of fun. It can feel overwhelming to you. So I didn't start feeling overwhelmed until when we had to calendar it all in. That's when I started feeling really overwhelmed, but you're gonna do it anyway, no matter how you feel, because you said you would, right? So I just put my to-do on there. And then the second thing you want to do is write all the obstacles. So I go through my list and I realize like, okay, so if this is like a big chunky thing, then I'm going to break it down into steps. And if this is something that I've been avoiding, then I'm going to write down why I've been avoiding it. So for me, one thing, I put meal plan was the first thing I put on here. And so on my other list here, it's a little bit longer, I wrote down, what is it? Find recipes that are within my budget. So find them on the internet or just think of them. Second thing, list all the ingredients I will need for all those recipes. Third thing, list meals, like make a meal schedule. So those are the 3 things I'm going to do within that meal planning thing. If it's something really big, like make important phone calls, then I'm going to list out all the important phone calls that I'm supposed to make. And maybe something like, go to the chiropractor. I wanted to figure out if my insurance covered it or not. So I wrote call the insurance, then call the chiropractor, then set up an appointment. So then I added those call the insurance and call the chiropractor. I added them into my make important phone calls section and lumped those all together. So something we'll probably talk about later is that like it's important to do similar things together so that way you can stay on the same wavelength for longer. So if I need to make important phone calls in one point in the week, I'm going to make all the phone calls at one point in the week. Set aside like an hour, 2 hours, however many phone calls I have to make. And I'm just going to like do all the phone calls then. And the same goes for like checking your email. Like check your email. You don't need to do it every day. You can do it like 3 times a week. It's not that important. And when you have committed to do something, okay, we're going to talk about that later. So I don't want to get too much into it right now. Jumping ahead of myself. But anyway, so you make your to-do download and then you make your objections download. So this is, again, anything that has been keeping you from doing what you want to do or anything that requires like steps. I wanted to sign my daughter up for preschool, so I need to call my mom. We're going to be moving close to my parents, so I need to call my mom and ask like what school she recommends, and then I'm going to look at budget for like the budget we have for preschool and blah, blah, blah. And I have like all these steps and I wrote them all down on this objections list. Okay. So that's going to be long. Your brain is going to be like, well, can I just like fudge this or like go through it not as intricately? Just take your time and do it. Okay, remember, you're getting off the bike. It's going to feel uncomfortable because you feel like you're wasting time, but you're not wasting time. Okay. So once you have all of those objections down and all like this is all the stuff you need to do, hopefully your brain feels really clear and just like, wow, I can't believe I can't think of anything else to do. This is it. Dang. Okay. So the next step, I kind of skipped a step here. I wrote 3 was prioritizing your list, but there's something actually before that I wanted to talk about. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. This is the new number 2. So before obstacles, cross off. Hold on. I put cross off if you can't read that. So before you do the obstacles to-do list, pardon me, you are going to cross off anything on your to-do download that you do not have to do. Okay? Let me clarify. You do not have to do anything at all. You don't have to do a single thing in this life. You do not have to vacuum your floor. You don't have to take care of your kids. You don't have to pay taxes. You don't have to live. You don't have to eat. You don't have to do anything. There are consequences, yes, to everything you decide not to do. So you might be like, I have to pay my taxes or I'll go to prison. Like, maybe that's why you want to pay your taxes. You love your children. Maybe that's why you want to take care of them. There's a huge difference in your brain about wanting to do something and having to do something. So if you tell yourself like, okay, well, yeah, I guess I do want to do that. I guess I do want to work Or I guess I do want to shower, which I know can be hard sometimes. I guess I do want to make that difficult phone call or finish my website, even though you felt like it was something you had to do before, but hopefully it makes a switch in your mind of like, wow, I want to do these things. I get to do these things. These things are a privilege, and it changes your whole mindset about them. So, but then you might also recognize that like, I don't have to do that. And I don't want to do that either. So cross that off right now before you do the objections, because then you won't even have to go through like any of the planning of it. For example, the very first time I ever did this, the first time I did this, my to-do download was so long. You'll notice that when you first do it, it's really long. And then like, as you do it consistently each week, then it will get shorter and shorter. And even though I didn't do mine consecutively, it's gotten shorter, but I believe that as I do it consecutively, it will get a lot shorter, because then you're keeping up on everything. So your to-do list, your to-do download will get way smaller. And then, what was I just saying, you guys? Oh yeah. So my very first time that I did this, I wrote a lot of stuff on my to-do download. And one of the things was that my husband had given me this chest to paint, to like, stain. And it's like a wooden chest that hasn't been stained. So I was going to stain it. And every time I like looked at it, I thought, and you stain that, and you stain that. It was one of those floating, bouncing things that was just stressing me out. And so when I wrote it down on the list, I was like, do I really want to do that? Do I really have to do that? No, no, no. And so I crossed it off, and it has not bothered me since, because I made a conscious decision that I don't want to do it. So it's no longer up there bouncing. It's gone, and I've taken care of it. That's why it's so important to get it all out on here. So even if you decide not to do it, then you're making a conscious decision not to, and your brain will literally leave you alone on that thing. So that is really cool. And you do not have to do, Brooke, the coach who has taught me all of this awesome stuff, she didn't do Christmas that year. So you don't have to do Christmas, you guys. You don't have to do Thanksgiving. You don't have to do birthdays. My sister didn't give gifts this year in any, I don't know about any of them, but she didn't do gifts for her daughter's birthday this year, and they just did an experience instead. Like, we have a lot of cultural norms, like, this is what we do for Christmas. We have stockings, we have gifts, we did that. You don't have to do any of that. You can go to the Bahamas. You could do whatever you want. You don't have to give gifts. You don't have to have stockings. You don't have to have a tree. That doesn't make you a heathen. That just means that you're celebrating in a different way. So a lot of times we feel like we have to do things because it's like a cultural norm, but you don't have to do them. So just tell yourself, like, all of these things are optional, and if I put these all on my calendar, I am choosing to do all of them. Okay, so this takes it into your responsibility, and it really empowers and energizes you. So that's an important step, and I'm sorry I skipped it this time. So cross off anything that you don't want or have to do. Well, cross off anything you decide you don't want to do. And then do the obstacles. So write down all the steps that it takes to do each thing on your list. And then after that will come prioritizing. This is where my brain started to complain. I was like, what the heck? I don't know. I had like, let me see. I had 79 items on my list and I had to prioritize all of them. Okay, let me just tell you right now, I don't think this is supposed to be like an exact science. Like, my free time is more important than my shower. And then where does my, my makeup go in there? Like, is that more important than my shower? Less important than my shower? So it's not an exact science. And when I say important, prioritize them in the order of like when they need to get done, importance or time. Okay, so for me, I realized that as I was prioritizing them, cleaning my house and cleaning my house and getting rid of stuff and selling stuff for our move was at the very end of my to-do list, because it didn't really matter exactly when it got done, and it wasn't as important as some of the other things. So make sure that, so prioritize them in order of importance. of what you want to get done. Just pretend like if you could only do like one thing, what would it be? Put that as number 1. Okay, now if you could only do one thing, what would that be? Put it as number 2. Just keep kind of asking yourself that. And if it's like not perfect, you're like, oh no, I should have switched to 8 and 9. Like it doesn't really matter. These are all going to get done. It just is like the order in which you calendar them is important. So I would definitely put free time as numero uno. This way. We need our free time. Otherwise, we're just going to like kill ourselves. So you need time to just like not have structure and just do whatever you want. Maybe you could have a spontaneous day, you know, and you can, when you plan like this, you can get a lot more done in a little time. So Brooke, she makes $17 million a year. She works 20 hours a week. Yeah, it's true. Because she's so good at planning and getting things done when she says that she's going to do them. So if you do that, then that leaves a lot of time for you to have spontaneous, unplanned moments. So don't think that like, oh no, if I'm going to calendar this all in, then I'm not going to have any room for spontaneity. You're going to have more time for spontaneity because then you're going to know exactly like when you're available. And you're not going to like, if you take a spontaneous moment, a lot of times we're like worried that we're forgetting something or that we're not going to get everything done. But if you've planned this all, then you know that everything's going to get done and this is your free time. So you don't have to like worry about anything. So it's spontaneous in your action and it's free in your mind. You don't have to worry about a single thing. So this actually allows you to be more spontaneous. And if someone wants to make plans with you, you know exactly when you're available. So definitely plan that free time first. I know for me, that was actually a kind of a struggle because I was like, let me just plan everything in and then I'll see when I can get free time. But no, that took me that was so hard. My brain kept going like, I would be like literally in the moment of planning my free time. And then I would just switch to like setting all my appointments and breakfast and writing all those things in. It was like, no, stop it. Write your free time. Pick the days that you want to be just like days off and pick the days that you want to work. And the days that you want to work, so like if I want to work in my business on Monday, I'm going to make that entire day like a worky day. So I'm going to make it a day when I work in my house and when I work in my business. So it's going to be a worky day all around. And I'm going to work 3 days a week. And I'm going to get most of my tasks done in the house and in my work on those 3 days. And then the other days, I will have more time to literally relax, read, take a bath, take a walk, like do whatever I want that's unplanned in any of those moments. And I'll still have stuff to do on those days, like routines that I do daily, but I'm going to have a lot of free time because I've just like focused everything in those work moments. Okay, so that's prioritizing it. Like I said, I had 79 items on there, and it was hard to see. Like a lot of these have like little arrows going in because I was like, I think that one's like pretty important. So I would go and put it near the top. And honestly, it's not a perfect science, but it is important to really figure out which ones are the most important to you. So after you prioritize them, then you're going to calendar all of it. Oh my gosh, you guys, I still have so much to talk about. And we have like 8 minutes left. So you're going to prioritize all of this. Sorry, you're going to calendar all of it. Da-da-da. Here's my beautiful calendar. Okay, so I created this calendar. It got a little wet in the rain here, but it's from 5 a.m. to midnight here. And I don't need to put all the hours because I'm planning my sleep. Remember, I'm going to be sleeping through that. So it fits better this way, it gives me more room. And I put my free time in there. So Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, those are all like free days, but I still have things on them that I want to do. And Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday are like work days. And so I want to work like 5 to 6 hours on those days. And I put exactly what I'm going to do. And everything that was on this prioritized list is on the calendar. You guys, just do it. It was so hard for me. Honestly, I have to be honest. This was my first calendar. I was like, I'm going to write it out. It was so messy and I felt overwhelmed. I was like, ugh. So then after I finished it, I forced myself to finish it. then I put it on this nice calendar, and it felt cleaner, and I felt better about it. And I'm going to commit to this, you guys. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this every week until I get it to work so that I can get all done. And I really feel like we feel like this is so much more like hectic and full and packed than our normal weeks, but it's not. It's not. I don't think it's going to be. I think if we do this right, we're going to experience a lot more peace and relaxation in our week because we are not constantly worrying about getting everything done. So something very, very important. I have to talk to you about this. When we get to, I'm going to give you an example here. When I get to, let's say tomorrow, I'm going to fold laundry at 11:30 in the morning. Now, am I going to want to fold laundry at 11:30 in the morning? Probably not. I don't know. I might be psyched about it, but let's say it's like a few days in and I'm getting like tired and I'm like, it's 11:30 in the morning. My girls are like running around like crazy kids. I just want to chill. And this is my primitive brain being like, we should just chill and see what comes up. And the girls are too noisy. I can't do this. Or am I going to overcome that urge and do it anyway? So an urge is to be processed just like any other negative emotion. We've talked about processing urges, so just feel it in your body. Learn how to feel the urge in your body. Like, let's say I would rather eat chocolate in front of the TV. So there's a reason I want to do that, and it's because of the way that it will make me feel. So, and not doing it will also make me feel negative. It will make me feel like it's difficult, right? So when it comes to that moment, it's 11:30, it's time to do laundry, but I want to sit in front of the TV and watch TV and eat chocolate. That is when it's time to process your urge. So what you do is you feel the urge in your body. Okay, I feel like this yearning to eat chocolate and this desire to just chill. My body wants to relax. So I feel that discomfort in my body and I feel it. And then I also like to think about the pleasure that I would feel if I were to eat the chocolate and sit in front of the TV, and how would that feel? And then I would just soak in that pleasure, and that might even be enough to satisfy the urge. Because for me, so I grew up not drinking coffee, and I worked in a coffee shop. Such a crazy person, right? So every time I smell that coffee, I would be like, oh, I just wish I could drink it so hard. But what I would do instead is just breathe it in, be like, that's nice. And then just like feel the pleasure of like what it would be like to actually have it. And that's enough. That can be enough. So sometimes I like to imagine the pleasure of sitting in front of the TV and eating chocolate and be like, that feels good, because you imagine it. And then you remember, and then remind yourself, like, you know what would feel even better? If I had a clean home and I stood up for myself and I honored myself. So, and then you proceed to do the laundry or whatever it is that you said you were going to do. And so processing urges is a skill. It's a skill, and it's going to be hard at first because those urges are really strong and you're used to giving into them. It's like Pavlov's dogs. So when if you don't know about Pavlov's dogs, they would ring a bell and then give the dog like a treat. And so after a while of doing that, ring the bell, give the dog a treat, ring the bell, give the dog a treat, then the dog would start to just salivate as soon as it heard the bell. Okay, and that's what we have been training ourselves to do. So like feel an urge given, and it's just really strong. So we start to like, okay, I'm gonna eat chocolate in front of the TV. Like I strongly believe that because it's happened so many times. Every time I feel this urge, I give into it. But you know what we don't always talk about with Pavlov's dogs is that they untrained them too. They started ringing the bell and they stopped giving them the treat. And guess what? The dogs stopped salivating after a while. So this means that for us, when we feel those urges, if we stop giving into them, then we can get stronger. We're not gonna salivate every time we feel the urge, right? And so Brooke Castillo says it takes 100 urges to get like really good at it, which is kind of fun because then every time you deal with an urge successfully, you're like, that's one down, I got 99 to go. I don't know why, but that's extremely motivating to a lot of people. Like you could even make a paper chain, just like cut it off and be like, I did 3 urges today, you know. Those kinds of things are extremely motivational to people. Like we were talking about in my finances class, how people would use that to get out of debt, and the entire family would just get so into it because they got to cut a paper chain every time they paid off like $1,000 of their debt. And it was just so motivating to cut that chain. So you can do that with the urges too. When you do like start honoring yourself, you really start to up level and like evolve and morph, you know. You become stronger in your mind and you strengthen your relationship with yourself in that regard. You start to believe your own word that you're going to do something. Another thing that is really helpful is breaking things into small steps. So for example, if I want to make some videos for my website, and so instead of just writing like, hey, make videos for my website, I think it'll take like a couple hours. No, you got to break it down into steps. And that's what I was talking about with on the objections worksheet. That's when I would write like, so that's the obstacles, that's number 3 technically, whatever. That is when I would write down all the steps I need to make those videos. Like first I need to just plan them out. Then I need to like ask my husband to help me, and then we need to do them, and then I need to edit them, and then I need to upload them, and then I launch my website, you know. So those are the steps that it takes, and I calendar in every single one of those steps, and they may be on even different days or different times, but the point is that when you break things down, and you can break them down really small, like for example, if I want to go exercise, I'm like, I just can't do it, it's time to go exercise, I don't want to. Your brain is going to fight you on going exercising, but something that is a lot easier to fight yourself on is putting on your socks and shoes. So instead or just like putting on your workout clothes. So you can say, I'm going to put on my workout pants. I'm not going to go exercise yet. I'm just going to put on my workout clothes. And you put them on. Okay, now I'm going to put on my shoes. Okay, now I'm going to fill up my water bottle. Okay, now I'm going to go. So break it down into minuscule steps for your brain, because it will be a lot easier for your brain to be like, okay, yeah, I can put on some socks. I can do that. I think I can do that. And then when you're all dressed, be like, I just have to walk out the door. I can do that. So if something is difficult for you like that in that regard, break it down into teeny tiny steps and calendar them all. I know that sounds sucky. Just like write them in there, teeny tiny. Put on socks, put on shoes, walk outdoor. Okay, you can do this. I promise you. Your prefrontal cortex is strong and ready to help you. So use it. Another thing, I wish I had more time. I'm gonna go over time. So what you gonna do? You can pause me, turn me off for all I care. Routines. Routines are so incredibly helpful, you guys. Routines, they make it so that we conserve a lot of energy in our brain. We have to make a lot fewer decisions. For me, what I noticed was like the first time that I calendared, I would write in like all the little things that I wanted to do every single day. But then I was like, these are like over and over and over again. I'm doing them all the same day. So what I did was I wrote down my routines, things I noticed I would do every day. My morning routine, and I wrote down everything I wanted to do and about how long I thought it would take. And then I wrote about 2 hours and 20 minutes. So I'm just going to round that up to 2.5 hours. And I have my meal plan routine, my Sunday morning routine, my evening routine, and how long each one of those is going to take me. So then I know, like, if I wake up at 5, I'm going to have 2.5 hours before my girls wake up. And that's just enough time to plug in that entire morning routine. And then, like, the first few times I'm going to have to get this list out and, like, look at it as I go through my routine. But as we get really good at our routines, you're going to think less and less about it. And so Michael Phelps is an incredible story or example of how routines can help us, because he had a routine for his swim that was just like ingrained. He would do the same routine every time he practiced, listen to the same music when you warmed up, do the same moves, the same everything. And that streamlined it so that his brain didn't have to like take up time thinking about anything else. and then it just swam, his body did its thing because he had practiced his routine so much. So get as many routines as you can. And especially when it comes to being a mom with toddlers, routines have saved my life. So we have breakfast routine, morning lunch routine, nighttime routine, all kinds of routines, as many routines as you can get for your kids and for you to like know when things are going to happen. That is so helpful. And for me, having that routine in the morning is going to be a lifesaver. I just know it. Show up for yourself, you guys. Honor your future selves. You will not regret it. I love this topic and I would love to talk more about it. So if you have any questions about anything specific or any examples of like, well, how does this apply exactly? Just message me, email me at kelly@mindandmecoaching.com and I will help you figure this out. As a perk for getting this 10-day training, I will help you through email. Okay, my friends, so definitely message me with any questions. If there's anything I forgot to talk about in detail, then I can help you. And remember, I'm going through this myself too, so I'm going to learn so much. Watch my Facebook Lives because I'll be like checking in with you guys to tell you how it's going and what I'm learning. And I just like, this is an exciting journey to up-level yourselves, and I know that you're going to do an awesome job. So go get them. I'll see you later, my friends. I love you.